Oh no, the damn safety nerd called out today. He said something about his pet iguana freezing. Oh, hey y'all. Everybody's favorite bumpkin here. Um, yeah, things have happened with Destiny. Now, before you guys get all bent out of shape and everything, no, I didn't get stuck on the side of the road, and no, she didn't poop herself. This is kind of a continuation of the mods and update list that we're doing on this bike, and I kind of ran into a little bit of a scenario that I wasn't expecting, and it's entirely my fault because, well, I'm an idiot. What can I say?
No shit, Buckwheat.
But never fear. I'm going to make sure I take you guys along for the ride, and I'm going to show you what I did, what I didn't do, and what I shouldn't have done. So here we go. Buckle up, boys. Let's get after it. Yeah, some things missing here. Mostly here and well, all the connective bits in the middle. Anyway, no, we didn't have a failure, but this is part of the updates that I've been planning on doing on this bike for a while. Now, unless you guys have been living under a rock and you're not entirely picking up what I'm putting down, most modern Harleys use a belt drive on the final drive. Destiny here is no different, even though it's a 1988 model motorcycle. That's where things kind of change just a bit. Hang on one second. Allow me to explain. Okay, so what's the fat guy on about now? Well, here I'm going to show you. Front pulley. And, yeah, 1988 vintage. A little crusty, a little dusty, got a couple little drips on it here and there. But hey, that's kind of par for the course. The main thing is the pulley teeth are worn evenly and we don't have any layover or any kind of step wear on them. So that's encouraging. As far as the drive belt and the rear pulley goes, hey, they're 1988, but they're hanging in there, so you know what? We're going to roll with at least the belt for now. Allow me to explain a bit here. Many of you guys have heard me bemoan the low gearing that is in this bike, and don't get me wrong, okay? To a certain extent, the 80-inch Evo motor, especially when you put it in a touring platform bike, it's less than inspiring, shall we say, okay? The thing is, the harsh truth of it is realistically, you're talking about a motor that real world on a good day when it's in a good state of tune makes 60, maybe 62 horsepower, and that's if you're lucky and you got a motor that doesn't have 62,000 miles and counting on it like Destiny does. Now, that's not to say that she's wore out and clapped out and loose in all the wrong places, because she's not, okay? She ain't been passed around like a bottle of Crown at a Florida Georgia Line concert, all right? Yeah, I'm guy number 3, so, well, let's just say that I ain't got to wiggle too much to hit the sides. The issue that I've had with this bike since day one, and it's not really an issue, it's a personal peeve, and the thing is, it kind of makes me feel bad because I do a lot of commuting, like a lot. Y'all know me. My trip to work back and forth is 35 miles each way, all day, every day. Now, the thing is, a lot of that is at spirited riding pace, usually to the tune of about 80, 85 mile an hour, to where I don't end up becoming a road pizza on Highway 275 and the Howard Franklin Bridge. On chain-driven bikes, or regearing your final drive, that's pretty easy, okay? Swap out a couple sprockets, you drop a couple teeth off the back, maybe add one to the front, no big deal, right? Well, with belt drive, that gets a little bit more complex, and there's a little bit more math involved, and plus there's also some more cost involved too, because for the most part, people don't change that stuff unless something's broke. And also, because of the way Harley's drivetrain is designed, as you guys just saw, you've got to remove everything in the primary, plus you've got to pull the inner primary out to be able to access the front pulley. It's not exactly something, that you want to do just on a whim when you think you can rock and roll it out in 30 minutes or less. This ain't Domino's, and we damn sure ain't talking pizzas here. This is something that if you're doing it on your own at the house, in the driveway, or in the garage, Plan on a solid weekend for this if it's the first time you've ever dove in there, because there's a lot of parts you got to take off. There's a lot of stuff you got to lay out. There's going to be a lot of cleaning you got to do. And there's also got a lot of measuring and a little bit of math here and there too. So to save you the pain and agony of that, I'm going to show you what I'm doing here. Again, 32-2 stock pulley. New contestant has entered the game. This is a 34-tooth pulley. Now the thing is, this pulley is only adding 2 teeth to the front pulley, all right? However, it will fit with your stock tooth count belt. You got to slide your axle just about all the way forward in the swing arm, and you ain't got a whole lot of wiggle room. Yeah, it's a tight fit, but it does fit. Now here's the thing. I know a lot of guys out there will poo-poo on aftermarket pulleys. Oh, boy, they're aluminum, they wear out, blah, 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 blah. Hey, guess what, buckwheat? This is steel right here, okay? Magnet, pulley. See? And I didn't even use any crazy glue. If you look at the aftermarket pulleys from Andrews, hey, guess what? Most of their pulleys, in fact, I think all of them, if I'm not mistaken, they're all aluminum. And aluminum doesn't exactly instill the warm and fuzzies from a longevity standpoint. But steel pulley, also way cheaper than Andrews. Where do you get them? Well, here I'll show you. These guys, Mid-USA, they're located in Missouri, central to the country. They can get stuff to you to your local independent shop in 2-3 working days tops, depending on where you're located at and how much snow's piled up in your front yard right now, because we all know that that's a thing, at least for all states other than Florida. Don't hate, man. We're tripping on iguanas down here, okay? That's your part number right there, if you can see that. Well, here, I'll just read it to you. It's part number 75268. That's a 34-tooth pulley. Fits all your Evo 5-speed. And, oh yeah, it's steel. Not to mention the fact it's about half of what the Andrews pulleys cost, okay? And it's going to last a hell of a lot longer. Where's the downside in that? True facts? There ain't one. They even give you dual drill bolt patterns on these things if you've got an early model or a late model 5-speed. See? You got the 3 holes in a triangle pattern for the early model, and then you got the 2 big guys off to the sides. Yeah, there. All your bases are covered. It's literally an unbolt, rebolt type of mod, okay? Now let me explain how much change this is going to affect. Now, just as a common denominator here, where we can all get on the same page of scratch paper, so to speak, and make our heads hurt a little bit less with the math, with the stock gear ratio and the tire height that I have on this bike right now, this bike turns exactly 22.4 miles per hour per 1,000 of engine RPM. So when we do the math on that, what's that come up to? That comes up to, what is it, 67.2 mile an hour at 3,000 RPM. And yeah, we're about 20 mile an hour shy of our target there. So yeah, you guys have heard me crying and whining about this thing tacking damn near $4,000, cruising along at 80-ish. Yeah, the math proves it. It's a thing. Now, what's it going to do if we bump this up to this 34-tooth pulley? Well, let's plug it into the handy little Google machine here, and we'll find out. That times 1, carry the 0, and change that to 4, multiplied by pi, multiplied by our primary gear ratio. Well, that goes from 22.4 mile an hour to 23.8 mile an hour. May not sound like a whole hell of a lot, but the thing is, by just adding 2 teeth to that pulley, we're picking up almost 2 mile an hour per 1,000 RPM. That math adds. So when you look at it like that in the grand scheme of things, we're turning 69, 70, 71.4 mile an hour. Hey, that's a noticeable change because we're still at our 3,000 RPM target. Now this is where things get a little bit interesting, okay? Hang on, guys. I'm going to take you for a ride here. Beep. All right, guys. I apologize if this looks a little bit dark, but we got a light bulb out on this corner of the shop right now, and you know, safety nerd called in because his pet iguana or whatever in the hell it was, I don't know, something about emergency heating measures. Anyway, here's some other things that you can do in your primary. Now keep in mind, our front pulley, obviously it mounts right here on the transmission. But did you know that you can re-gear the primary ratio in your motorcycle as well? Now there's some pros and some cons, and there's a couple of extra hoops that you got to jump through. Now, for you guys that don't know, or you're new to Harley-Davidson, that's your motor sprocket. See the little ramps? Well, that engages in the tri-ramp that is controlled by the spring cup that makes up your front compensator and your motor sprocket assembly. Now, the stock motor sprocket on this vintage of Evo, on all touring models up into and including the 1998 model when the last year Evo FL chassis was made, is 24 teeth on this front sprocket. Well, fun factoid, okay? You can get these as a 25 tooth. Now there's some limitations and there's some drawbacks there, okay? Hang on, let me explain. Now when we're talking motor sprockets and you're looking at re-gearing it from that aspect, hang on here. Might want to stop and pump the brakes for just a second and think about this thing big picture, okay? Now, I just happen to have a 25 tooth motor sprocket here in the shop, and just for ha-has, I stuck it in there just to see, and my theory was proven somewhat correct. It don't fit. The primary chain, it's just a wee bit on the short side to be able to get that thing in there, and that's not even counting getting your tension set properly on your primary chain adjuster shoe whenever you've got everything assembled in there, because you've got to do the whole lift and wiggle thing. Yeah, wasn't going to work. So we've got 78 links in our primary chain on FL/touring models. You can get a 82 link chain. Now, I could have done that, but the thing is, a couple of reasons, and these are solely my reasons, but this is something I want you guys to consider as well. I've got motor upgrades planned for Destiny here in the very near future, and a big portion of those motor upgrades are going to entail me bumping the compression up in this thing to get a little bit more pop out of it. Now, here's the drawback. Think of how the starting system in any Harley-Davidson works. The starter's not connected to the motor, not directly. It's connected to the backside of your clutch. So in its whole Rube Goldberg-esque type of method of transmission, the starter engages the gear on the back of the clutch shell. It spins the clutch shell, which in turn grabs the primary chain, yoinks the shit out of it on the bottom to rotate the motor in a forward direction against the drag from the drivetrain, the clutch, the primary chain, the motor, the charging system, because yes, those magnets do apply drag even when they're sitting there stationary. And then eventually it turns the crankshaft to turn the motor over and start the motorcycle and make that potato sound that we all know and love. Whew. Damn, that's a lot to say. Now, here's the thing. This is where physics comes into play. If you add a tooth to your motor sprocket, you're actually taking away mechanical advantage from your starter motor. Bottom line, in layman's terms, your starter is going to be working a little bit harder to do the same job if you add a tooth here. And where that's a big drawback for me is because even if I did put a 25 tooth motor sprocket in this thing, later down the road when we do the motor work, what's going to happen? Well, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. My starter is going to be working its ass off, and it's going to be putting in some work as it is with the motor build that I have in mind with the components I'm going to put in here. There's no need to add to that pile of frustration, okay? Don't be that guy at bike night that's calling for a push. Don't stack the deck against yourself. Besides, even if you spent the money on a longer primary chain and you put the 25 toother in there, even if you kept your bike stock, you're still going to be setting yourself up for a little bit more battery draw, a little bit more battery drain every time you crank the bike over. Even if your bike's in a perfect state of tune, or if you got a fuel injected bike where you just hit the button and it pops right off, if you've been sitting in traffic, or if it's hotter than shit outside, like it's kind of prone to doing here in Florida, or a combination of the two, or worse, what we're experiencing right now, where we're getting into the 30s, the ass end of the 30s at that, in the mornings, and you go out there and you try to crank that thing over, guess what, bub? That starter's going to be like, you son of a bitch, I can't believe you're doing this to me. Yeah, don't do it, y'all. There's a lot of people out there that has done this mod, But me personally, this is not one that I can recommend, just for the simple fact that it's going to be putting a lot more wear and tear on the starter system, the starter itself, your starter drive clutch. Um, Inadvertently, your primary chain and your primary chain shoe, you're going to see a little bit more wear there just from the motor grunting and groaning and struggling to get cranked over. Yeah, pass on this one, guys. But there's a way that we can get the same advantage almost identically, and guess what? We don't even have to go into the primary to do it. More math. God, I'm going to need some Advil after this. You guys heard the figure that we come up with by swapping out our front pulley, just our front pulley, out to our 34 tooth, which is going on here. That got us up to 23.8 mile per hour per thousand RPM of engine speed when we're in fifth gear. Just as a hypothetical, what if we stuck that 25 tooth motor sprocket in there? Hang on, I'll tell you. Wow. That put us up to 24.8 mile an hour. So that's, oh wow, let's see here. That's almost an honest to God 75 mile an hour at 3,000 RPM. Sounds pretty good, except for that whole, kicking your starter's ass and working the shit out of your battery thing. Now hang on, let me rework my figure in here, and I'll show you how we can get damn near the same thing without putting any additional strain on our starter. Oh, I was wrong. Oh shit, I was wrong. Bumpkin math failed me. I was horribly wrong. That didn't get us almost 75 mile an hour. It got us about 76 and a half, because that works out to 25.6 mile an hour per thousand RPM of engine speed. How in the hell are we doing that? The rear pulley. Yeah. Now here's the thing. Remember how I said a 34 tooth pulley will fit, but it's damn tight? Well, little known factoid, FL touring models, most Harley Big Twins for that matter, especially the Evo years, they came with a 70 tooth pulley on the back. But there was a couple of exceptions. The early Fat Boys, FLSTF, yeah. Remember the Terminator bike? He said he'll be back. Those bikes came with a 65 tooth pulley on the back, and the offset and the bolt pattern is the same. So, what do? Step one, you slap a 34 tooth on the front. You get a little bit of gain out of it, plus your starter stays happy. Then, step two, if you've pre-gamed for it, unfortunately I wasn't able to right here, right now, but obtain a 65 tooth, 1.5 inch wide pulley. And especially on a bagger, something where it's going to be, covered up, if it's a little beat up and scrubby looking, don't worry about it. A little bit of spray paint, nobody will ever know. If you're a OCD clean freak, hey, baby, you do you, okay? But I ain't going to judge, and me personally, I ain't going to worry about it, because Destiny is, she shows real good, but she ain't a show pony. But the thing is, she's damn sure a workhorse in that sense, meaning that it ain't no trailer queen. This damn thing gets ridden, okay? So a little bit of dust and dirt and a little bit of road funk, yeah, it ain't going to bother me in the least, because guess what? It'll wash. You do the 34 tooth pulley on the front. You're scooting your axle forward. And like I said, it's a tight fit, but it will fit. It will fit with a stock belt. Now, whenever you've got to put a tire on the back, what you do, while you have your tire off, changing it, you zap your bolts out, you pull your stock 72, words are hard, y'all. You zap your bolts out, you pull your stock 70 tooth pulley off of there, and you lovingly set it on the shelf of stuff that I may need for later, because this is obviously your indoctrination into Pack Rat 101. I'm a founding member. I admit I have a problem. You replace said 70 tooth pulley with the 65. Bolt it down, torque it to spec, install your new tire, put it back on the motorcycle. Then you have to run your belt back a little bit, but it still fits, because you were able to cheat a little bit, because that 34 tooth pulley, guess what? You added 2 teeth on the front, so that moved the axle a little bit forward from where it normally rides at in stock position. I mean, we're talking quarter inch, something like that. Not a big deal. When you drop 5 teeth off the back, since it's a larger pulley, the axle doesn't have to move back as much to make up for those 5 teeth as what it would if you made a similar change on the front, because, you know, physics, it's bigger around. So what I'm getting at is you can get 76 mile an hour at 3,000 RPM by swapping 2 pulleys that are a 100% bolt-on, and you can maintain your stock belt. You don't have to replace it, especially if it's a low time unit or if it's in very good shape. Now, I got 4 decades and 62,000 miles on this belt right here right now, but the thing is, I ain't worried about it, because a lot of people out there think that, you know, belt-driven motorcycles are somewhat fragile and they're damage prone. That's a bunch of bullshit. I'm gonna tell you that right now. The belt on the Bastard Glide on my Roadstar, that's the original belt on that bike from when that bike rolled off the assembly line, and it's got 140,000 and counting on it now. And plus, about 50,000 miles ago, some dummy sliced 7 millimeters off the side of the belt to make it skinnier to where it would fit on a Harley pulley, because that wing nut had a fever dream and he decided it was going to be a damn good idea to put Harley touring wheels on the back of a Yamaha. Yeah, there's a method to the madness, y'all. So what I'm getting at here, people, is these are simple bolt-on mods, and they can be done with stock and or stock replacement parts. Hit up your local swap meet. Look around. Just do a tooth count on the pulleys. I mean, most Harley factory pulleys, they're going to be marked for tooth count on them. Now, if you find like some blingy billet pulley or anything, it's probably not going to be marked, and you're going to have to break out the pitties and start going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 around in a circle. But it's worth the time, because it's going to be a bolt-on. It bolts straight up to your existing wheel. It's going to use your existing belt, and also you're able to do this without breaking the bank. Think of it like this, okay? Say you got a main shaft seal leaking, which is very common, or a shift shaft seal, again, which is very common on 5 speeds, or 5th gear main shaft seal leaking, which is not terribly common, but not terribly out of the ordinary either. Y'all see a pattern forming here? Yeah. Harley and leaks, they go together like peas and carrots, kind of like Jenny and Forrest, kind of like peanut butter and jelly, and kind of like a wee-wee and a woo-woo. Sorry, Mom, that was the only thing I could think of right then, okay? Yeah, I know. You tried. What I'm getting at here is we can make a very effective reduction in engine RPM without spending ourselves blind on fancy aftermarket stuff or unobtainium parts that you have to know that one guy that lives on that mountaintop in that one country that only comes out to see the light of day 2 hours on a certain day of the year when the moon's in the proper alignment, okay? The stuff's out there, and it's very easily found. Just a heads up for you guys, I'm going to leave you a link down here in the description on the video that shows the part number on the pulley, or the front pulley rather. And as far as the rear pulley goes, use your imagination. Hit up your local swap meet. Call your local indie shop and say, hey, do you guys possibly have one of these? Because normally I keep shit like that around here, and I have several pulleys, but unfortunately I don't have a damn 65 here, or else I'd be cleaning that thing up and I'd be strapping it on the ass end whenever I put this primary back together. Okay. Now, something of note here, keep in mind, y'all, bike's got 62 thou on the clock. Now, our primary chain, yeah, that measured out good, checked out in spec. Got a little bit of wear on the shoe right there, but I ain't going to worry about that too awful much. Them little grooves, they ain't going to do nothing to nobody. But these, on the other hand, yikes. Those are used up. The thing is my total stack height on this clutch stack right now, or the total width of it whenever it's all assembled and under load, I'm right at my minimum here. So, since I had to pull the clutch and everything apart anyway to get down to the pulley to where we could do that, we're going to throw some new frictions in here while we're at it. And again, nothing high speed, nothing sexy, nothing big dollar, but the thing is, they're going to be perfectly serviceable for a stock or even a mildly modified application, because the motor mods that I'm doing on Destiny, yeah, we're going to see some gains there, but we're not going to go drag racing with this bike, okay? It's going to improve, but it's not going to improve enough to warrant having to swap the clutch out for anything high speed, and yeah, So what's the best bang for the buck out there on the market right now for Harley clutch stuff? Well, if you're doing service stuff and you're, just like as a preventative maintenance replacement or a mileage replacement, kind of like what I'm doing on Destiny. Also, if you happen to be a little bit of a cheap ass, kind of like I am, Alto, Red Eagle, good shit. And also, it comes in very, very attractive to our price point. Also on Destiny, she's got kind of the odd duck clutch that uses these little skinny, thin friction discs, and there's only 6 of them in there. So they only use those clutches for, what was it, 4 or 5 years, something like that. Yeah, leave it to me to get the odd duck. But the thing is, the Alto stuff, it works. It's going to get the job done. It's nice and linear. It's not real grabby. It's not real snatchy whenever you get to that friction point where it's starting to engage. They shift clean. If you set them up right, you maintain your stuff, they're going to last you a hell of a good damn long time, okay? All right, gang, I got to come clean with you, okay? Way back in the dark ages when this wasn't all that gray and, I didn't have access to the interwebs, I actually took the time and put myself through the pain and agony of actually mapping out the different ratios and all that stuff on a gearing change and figuring out what in the hell it was going to do and, how much it was going to drop engine RPM, things like that. Luckily, a few years back, I stumbled across a extremely valuable resource here to the Harley community. Unfortunately, metric guys, hey, you're still going to have to crunch the numbers and do the math yourself because I just haven't found a good one yet for those that I feel comfortable putting out there to you guys. But I'm going to have a link to these guys down here in the description on this video, okay? So check it out. This online calculator that I've been using, well, it ain't the calculator on my phone. I'm going to tell you what it is. This is that point in the video where I point out that this is important and you will see this information again. So write it down. And I'll write it down for you because it's going to be down here in the description, okay? Just so you guys know, I'm not affiliated with these guys. I'm not plugging their business. I'm not, telling you, hey, go spend money with them or anything like that. But I will give them a big shout out and a big thumbs up because they are sharing this publicly on their website, and it makes life so much easier for a lot of people that are doing their own work, doing their own mods, also building their own motors, things like that. I mean, there's a treasure trove of information on this website. And what it is, it's called bigboysheadporting.com. Just Google them, okay? Big Boys spelt with a Z. Now, the cool thing is they have here on their website, they have a subsection here with calculators in it. And what that does, they have the option here to where not only do they have a VIN number decoder for multiple Harley models, it's not all Harley models, but it's a shitload of them, but also they have compression and displacement calculators for Twinkie, for Evo. They also have this nifty little camshaft comparator for twin cam and Evo. And what you can do is you can select up to 3 different camshafts from a very large list that they have for both engine platforms. And you can directly compare them as far as the numbers on the cam, the total gross valve lift, the duration, the lobe timing, lobe separation angle, how many degrees before top dead center or after top dead center the valve opens and or closes, the total duration on the cam. Yeah, shit ton of good info there. I highly recommend y'all bookmark these guys. Look them up, okay? Because that's where I've got this nifty little gear calculator from. They even have a calculator on here to help you figure out what size wire you need to use if you're wiring up an accessory or if you're doing a full bike rewire, okay? I mean, it's almost idiot proof. Notice I say almost. If it was totally idiot proof, it would do it for you. And yeah, it don't do that, but it's a damn good resource to have. The cool thing that I like about that gear and drivetrain calculator that they have, it has your stock information as far as gear ratios for each gear, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But it also has your primary ratios and your final drive ratios for your particular model already saved in there. And that's what the baseline is built off of. And then you can go in there and you can look in the column. You can make a change like we did with our 34 tooth front pulley. and you can see how much of a change that's going to make to your total gear ratio stack up. That's what I was doing whenever I was showing you guys the numbers on it, okay? Well, you think I'm going to work it out in my head? Come on, that shit hurts, man. I might hear something go like that and then smell burnt toast all of a sudden. Next thing you know, you'll see me flopping around in the bottom of the video, and then you'll see sirens and stuff in the parking lot. So like I said, y'all, check them out, bookmark their site. Damn good resource to have, okay? I'm glad to be able to share it with you because, hey, if you don't share it, you ain't helping anybody. That ain't what you do. Okay, now here's where I got to fess up a little bit. I kind of goofed. Just a little bit. Here, let me show you. Now, let me point out that a couple of videos ago, you guys will remember me recommending that saddlebag thumb screw kit that does away with the quarter turns. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I like them. They work damn good. But they kind of got me in trouble because if y'all remember the other day when we talked about doing the shock oil change in the stock FL shocks to improve the ride of them, and also just from a service standpoint, because that shock oil does get wore out, I wasn't really paying that much attention to what I was doing when I reinstalled the shocks. And when I tightened down the thumb screw here, well, yeah, I had an oopsie. And the end of that threaded stud protruded in there just enough at just the right spot to where I mashed a hole in the damn airline, and I didn't realize it because it had it pinched off, if you can believe that. I heard air hissing when I was undoing my saddlebag screw, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Oh, no. Sad primate noises. So yeah, I broke it. Well, technically I squished it, but yeah, same result. It's broken. I enjoyed the way the ride felt on the stock shocks when I updated them with a little bit heavier oil in there. It felt really good to me. That's when I run into a little bit of a problem. Now, a lot of you guys out there know the beloved wife unit. She was involved in a pretty serious car wreck back in September, and she's recouping very well from that. However, she still struggles a little bit with the weight of a helmet on her head, and also, you know, bumpy roads, things like that. If she gets jarred real good, you know, even in a car, it's uncomfortable for her. Whenever you put 4 pounds worth of, you know, noodle cage on top of you, rocket, stop that. That minor earthquake was because of our emotional support fuzzball. Hang on. Yeah, bitch at me later. He's demanding belly rubs. I must pay the tax. You needy little shit. Yeah, I love you and you know it. That's how you can get away with all this crap. All right, go on. Go on. Am scrape. Anyway, like I was saying, having a 4-pound helmet on top of her head like that, you know, hitting bumps, especially those unexpected bumps that you really can't prepare for or brace yourself against, you know, like if you hit a big whoop or something like that where it bottoms out, you know, something that kind of catches you with your pants down, that didn't feel good for her. And she's trying to work her way back up to getting back on the bike with me. And we've taken several short trips around town, but suspension is one thing that is very crucial for her ride comfort right now at this point in time. And even though I had dialed in the ride to where it felt really good for me, the shortcomings of the stock shock became readily apparent whenever I put her on the back. Because even though it still had a good, cushy, smooth ride, riding normal, with her particular situation being what it is right now, if we hit one of those big potholes, that was uncomfortable for her. And it was pretty jarring for her because on the stock shocks, keep in mind, you don't have any way to increase the spring preload on them. Really, guys? He's a menace. Really, he is. Go. That'll get them out of your hair damn near as fast as a squirt gun. No, I'm not being mean to them, okay? They're used to this shit. They live here. Since I was so rudely interrupted, again, little fluffy asshole, what I'm saying is, for her particular situation, this was a problem. On the stock shock, you can't bump up the spring preload. All you can do is pump air pressure into it. Now, for most people, that's okay, especially when you put a little bit heavier weight oil in there. But y'all know me. I carry a lot of gear with me wherever I go because reasons. And also, I'm not exactly what you would call trim. Yeah, I can't really say I'm out of shape because I'm round. Round's a shape. So I fit the profile. Anyway, let me show you something that I stumbled across the other day. I'm going to be the guinea pig here. I'm going to try these things out and see if it improves my situation and hers. However, if it does, and if it does what I'm thinking it'll do, this may open up the door for some damn cheap bolt-on upgrades for you guys out there that's got any of the FL Touring platform bikes from, 85 moving forward. Yeah, check these out. See? Cool, ain't they? Let me tell you what these are. These are the stock takeoff shocks from a 2025 Street Glide Touring. Now, kind of a weird story how I came to get a hold of these. I saw these posted up on Marketplace the other day, and the guy was asking 125 bucks. And they looked kind of odd to me because me personally, I'd never seen them. I didn't know that these were coming out on the 25 models. Long story short, in a nutshell here, this guy had bought this bike, and no shade to the guy I bought these shocks off of, but you can tell when somebody buys a bike for the wrong reasons. And this would be one of those times. He bought this bike, didn't like the way that it set, so he bought the cheapest set of progressive 2-inch lowering shocks he could get his hands on and proceeded to have the dealership bolt them onto his 2025 model Street Glide that he bought. And then he still didn't like it because he couldn't get his feet flat enough on the ground. Now, keep in mind, this guy's about 5'9", 5'10", something like that. He's more or less average height, and he's not built like Cotton Hill neither, okay? I mean, he's proportional. He doesn't have little nubby midget legs. So he has the Harley dealership put a set of progressive 412s on the back of this thing that are 2 inches lower than stock, which admittedly is a huge step backwards because honestly, that's the cheapest damn shock that Progressive sells. And it's 2 inches shorter than stock, and it's going to ride like a damn log wagon. And he still didn't like the fact that he couldn't get his feet flat enough on the ground to where he felt good about it. So then at that point, he trades the 2025 model Street Glide with 300 and some odd miles on it off for a 2026 model Street Glide trike. Yeah, perfect logic. But I'm going to reap the benefit here because getting back to these takeoff shocks, this is the primary shock on the 25 and up model Street Glide models. It's 13 inches eye to eye, just like our stock touring shocks here on Destiny. That's where the similarities come to a screeching halt because this is the primary shock. Notice I said primary. I'll get to that in a minute. But if you look close, you notice these have a threaded spring preload adjustment collar at the top of the shock body, and you've got a long range of adjustment here to where you can preload this and set it up for your static sag for your weight. Now, the other shock doesn't have that. We'll touch on that in a minute. But one thing they do both have is that little wheel down there at the bottom. That's a rebound damping adjuster. Now, if you guys know anything about suspension, you know that the stiffer you make the spring, the more it's going to bounce coming up off of a bump. And what this sets up is if you don't have enough rebound damping in your suspension, that's when the whole pogo stick, floaty, wallow, bouncy, boing, 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 looks like Uncle Buck's old LTD kind of ride comes from. This will allow me to dial in more rebound damping to where I can control that oscillation and still have enough spring rate on there to, hold the back end of the bike up properly when I got it loaded down with myself and my dearly beloved. But wait, it's a Billy Mays moment because there's more. Now, a lot of you guys that may be familiar with the late model touring shocks, you know that they've got a hydraulic spring preload adjuster on the left-hand shock. This one does too, but one thing that Harley started doing on them that I thought was pretty fucking cool They made it remote. They put it on a flexible hose. Now here's the cool thing. You can set the other shock up with your manual spring preload adjustment to your normal ride weight. And then if you're putting a passenger on the back or something like that, you can dial in a little bit of extra spring preload with this hydraulic preload adjuster here. You just reach down and turn the knob until you get it to where you want it. This is real similar to the setup that I built for the Bastard Glide using the 1800 Goldwing rear shock and a preload adjuster off of a Suzuki Katana. The theory is the same. The principle is the same. It's just hardly put it on there from the factory. And you guys know as well as I do, there's that 1-2% group that's got to have the neatest, coolest, flashiest, shiniest, blingiest thing out there. So what are they going to do? They're going to take the stock shit off, and they're going to spend an ungodly amount of money on suspension from Öhlins or Progressive or Legends or something like that just because it looks cool. Yeah. What are they going to do with the stuff they take off? Well, chances are they're going to sell it pretty damn cheap. That's where you need to start stocking them on Facebook Marketplace. I paid $125 for these shocks, and they barely got 300 miles on them. And except for having to mount the spring preload adjuster here, they're going to be a direct bolt-on Destiny. Now, here's the cool thing. Well, cooler thing. If you don't have a place where you can readily mount this hydraulic preload adjuster, don't worry about it, because here, look here. They're a standard 3/8 inch or 10 millimeter if you're not measuring in freedom fractions, but they're a standard banjo fitting on each end of this hose. So what that means is you can take any universal brake line that uses a 3/8 inch / 10 millimeter banjo fitting on either end, make your own hose for whatever length you need with whatever angle fittings you need for your particular install. And you can put this thing in some out of the way place to where it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb, but you can still get to it. Use your noodle, folks. You're only limited by your own creativity. And sometimes we're limited by common sense, but usually we try to overlook that. I'm going to get these bolted on here. I'll give you guys a ride report here in a couple of weeks and let you know how they do. If these work out as well as I'm hoping that they will for my particular situation, this is potentially going to open up a whole new area of options for you guys with these older touring bikes to update your ride for low cash and also have the versatility to where not only can you have a good ride around town when you're loaded light or running empty, but still be able to make just a really quick, no tool type of adjustment and have a good ride whenever you're loaded down, or if you decide, you know what, screw it, we're going to make the Four Corners run this weekend, boys, and ain't nobody going to stop us. So yeah, there you go, gang. My schedule has been insanely crazy here lately, and I don't want to sound like I'm crying about it, but you know what? Yeah, I'm crying about it. Now, normally on stuff like this, I typically do this kind of work on, Sunday evenings, Monday during the day, something like that. And that way we can put together a video for you fine folk. Now, with the wife unit schedule being changed to what it is, I decided to take Sunday off and just hang out with her at the house and everything, because Monday we had a doctor's appointment we had to go to. Everything come out good. She's cleared hot, good to go. Ain't got no worries there. Everything is 5 by 5. But that was important to me. And yeah, what can I say? I took a lazy day. And it felt damn good. I ain't going to deny it. Now, here's the thing. The reality of it is, right now, it's 11:16 at night on a Tuesday night, which is our Monday here in the industry. So what that means is I have to get my ass in gear. I got to get Destiny put back together here. That way I can have the lift cleared off, because I got appointments coming in at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I want to be real with you guys, okay? A ton of you guys have reached out to me about suspension updates and stuff like that since I made that public. And believe me, I appreciate every single one of you guys. For you guys that have got parts inbound to me, yeah, I'm going to jump on that stuff as soon as I get it in my hot little hand. That way I can turn it around and get it back to you, get it out ASAP. That way you can get your scooter back together, and eventually, whenever you guys dig yourself out of the mountain of snow that you're currently stuck under right now, depending on what part of the country you live in, yeah, you have your bike back, ready to go. Now, I say that jokingly, but there's a measure of truth to it, okay? Keep in mind, y'all, there's some badass winter stuff coming down, the likes of people ain't seen in a long time. You know, every now and then you see it here and there, but it's been a good bit since we've seen it on this large of a scale, you know, as a nation of people. If you're in one of these areas where you know you may have power outages or road blockages, something like that, do the right thing. Check on your people, check on your neighbor. Don't be afraid to ask for help, but don't be afraid to offer help neither. It's what makes the world go around. Got to watch out for the ones that matter to you. Just like you guys here, you guys over on the Patreon side. Y'all matter. I appreciate the hell out of you, and I love you guys for hanging out with me and sticking around for the ride. Just remember, gang, till next time, I love you. I'll catch you on that flip side. All right, time to start the damn coffee pot because we're going to be here burning the midnight oil.
Force will be with you, always.